over to you. May I hand over to you to open the meeting after a few moments of silence?
Sure.
Thank you.
So as we continue to sit here, if your eyes have been closed, you might open them and just gaze on your screen. We've been Zooming for years now in various contexts, but I think it's really important, especially for this community, to kind of recognize and honor, first of all, the amazing turnout for this meeting, and just scan through the various thumbnails that you have, the various screens, and drink in the faces of everybody. And I'm guessing that pretty much everybody is at home. And we almost never see each other in our homes, especially when we're engaged in some kind of professional work, because we're always in a workplace or some kind of gathering. But I think it's really important for us to remind ourselves that there's something about being at home that's not just physical and literal, but it's also metaphorical. And it's really what the meditation practice is all about, is to actually be 100% at home in who you are, in your body, in your love for life, in the unique constellation of characteristics that have given rise to you, no matter how old you are, and what your unique attributes are that allow you to contribute to the world in a way that nobody else can do, because nobody else is you. And then to gaze on the screen and see how many of us there are who are all in that circumstance. And whether we know each other well or we don't know each other at all, to actually recognize that there's a commonality of purpose here, of intentionality that's, in my heart, I feel is unbelievably profound, and that nobody is here. Now there are 434 people by accident. Nobody's here by accident. And nobody twisted your arm to become an MBSR teacher. That I'm guessing you became an MBSR teacher for very profound, perhaps even existential reasons having to do with identity and purpose and ultimately love for what's most important in life. And so I'm not going to go on talking, because this is really not my meeting. I want to basically be, as I understand it, a visitor and a guest, and to participate in the deep listening as to where the sources of challenge are at the moment, of a certain degree of pain or disappointment or even anger at having kind of taken on a professional trajectory around MBSR or mindfulness teaching, and then realizing that somehow, maybe because of COVID, maybe because of greed, hatred, and delusion in one way or another, institutional and otherwise, we're now in this situation where what seemed like a fantastic career move or opportunity is actually not so much of a fantastic career move or opportunity. And I'll speak later about the fact that it was never meant to be. MBSR was never meant to be a career opportunity. It was meant to be a kind of, in some sense, subversive call to action to transform the world any way you can, based on the deepest possible embodied practice of Dharma, wisdom, and compassion. And that's not something you ever get paid for. That doesn't mean that there isn't a lot of kind of pain and suffering around the way the arc of things unfolded in the past 20 years or 22 years since basically I left the Center for Mindfulness. And so this is a very, very healthy process. And I want to bow to everybody that's been involved in it from the beginning and who put together all of the various notes and background for me to sort of have some kind of an idea of what the challenges are. And I'll tell you, this is all new to me. I do not follow MBSR. I do not teach MBSR. I don't know what's going on with this group and that group and everything else. So I really, because my energy is going elsewhere, into the M as opposed to the MBSR. And so I really feel like this moment is pregnant with fantastic possibilities. The world has never, ever needed mindfulness as much as it needs mindfulness now. But it needs it in as authentic and embodied and selfless a way possible. And so we're presented with a certain kind of koan. Yes, we have to make a living. But at the same time, this is not a job, really. And it was never meant to be a job, as I said. It was meant to be a kind of radical engagement for in the service of healing humanity in one way or another. And I'm not exaggerating that. That was my, I could speak for 3 hours on what my core motivations were from the very beginning. But I do feel like gazing at your faces, some of you I have not seen for years and who I love and miss and have memories of being in your homes and working together and so forth. Let's roll up our sleeves and just have this be a first, at least airing of this kind of thing that I'm involved in, and see whether we can't really find the creativity and the creative opportunities to take who we are and what we love and what we most know and offer it to the world in ways that actually do allow us to sustain ourselves in the most important of ways. And that, of course, includes economically. So I'm going to just hand it over to the organizers here, Catherine and whoever, and then I'll follow your lead.
Thank you, Jon. Thank you. I take the moment to just say a few words on what is going on in the chat. People are asking how to turn on translations. Please look in the menu at the bottom of the screen. There is a place that looks like CC, a button CC, and it's called Captions. And there you can turn on a translation if the language that you're looking for is supported.
Yeah.
Je peux peut-être traduire en français pour que les personnes qui cherchent le français puissent comprendre. Pour avoir les sous-titres en français, vous pouvez cliquer sur en bas, afficher les sous-titres, le petit logo CC. Et là, normalement, ça devrait fonctionner en choisissant la langue en français.
Yeah, sorry we didn't do that at the very beginning, but I won't repeat what I said.
Yeah. And also, we are recording. You heard like 10 minutes ago that we are recording. I would just like to announce that if you are not comfortable with your face or your name being seen, then please put something else like your country instead of your name, and you can turn off your camera. There are many people who have registered but who cannot come. So we would really like to record this. Also, for us here, it could be helpful to listen to it again, because while we are here, we might have some concentration on other things. So please, I want you to be comfortable, and if you're not comfortable with the recording, then please take care for yourself. The main topic was brought to us by people who participated in the bi-weekly exchange, EAMBA exchange meetings, and it is the current needs and the demands for mindfulness teaching in society. And leaning into what you just said, Jon, when you started it, you were looking at needs from people who were suffering, and you made something that was right for them at that time and in that context. And maybe that is the call that we need to respond to make something that is right for society and for the variety in society at this moment. So we will explore external factors and internal factors. External factors being things that are going on in society, like new types of mindfulness transmission, like mindfulness teaching being offered, like pre-recorded courses, applications, and internal factors, which might be representations we as teachers have about business, about money, about marketing, about communication, about investments. And we will split the meeting into both, but probably when we talk, things are holistic, they're intertwined. And so don't feel that you can't speak up on what you want to say if that's not the theme yet. It's intertwined, so we will listen. Also, we had intended to make this meeting 2 hours. And then we were lucky, Jon, that yesterday, you said, at least we need 2 hours. And if it need be 3 hours, you will be there. So thank you. And colleagues, the ones of you who can be here, remember, you are most welcome to stay for 3 hours. So maybe first we could hear some voices on these external factors. How to understand the variety of what is going on. What is it in your situation that you experience now? Do you have demand? Can you fill your courses or not? And if you can, maybe we can learn from you how you fill your courses, how you serve the people that you serve, or maybe you serve new populations, or maybe you have adapted your content. So there are, in fact, 3 aspects that we can talk about when we look at external factors. It's the content, it's the format, it's the population. And maybe it's also, you could say, the competition. May I invite you to speak up and tell us, what is it in your situation that makes you come here, spend your time here, be together, and want to understand what is going on? Yes, Ted, please. Hello, good afternoon. You are muted. Okay. Gwenola, would you please unmute all microphones so then people can mute themselves? Okay.
How about now? Hear me okay?
Hello.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for having this. I really appreciate all of the work that goes into one of these, and it's wonderful to see all of you. There are two things that come to mind with the question that you're asking, and this is a terrific topic for us to explore, because I know many of us across the world are having difficulty filling our classes. And I think one of the things to ask everyone is, what is our situation? I think there is a structural issue with large institutions. Most of us are probably not with large institutions, but that is baked into the very structure of even registering for this meeting. It was a required field for me to say, what national organization am I with? And so independent teachers are already at a disadvantage, because we don't have institutions paying for the marketing, the business side of it, administrative people take care of that. We're on our own. So that's one issue for us to be aware of. And then the second one to ask about from people, I'm very curious to hear from everyone, is around this idea of competition. And I'm a little concerned that the answers we may go to, because they're easy and obvious, is how do we become more competitive? And what I'd like to suggest is, rather than us learning how to do this, to be in competition and beat the other person, how do we perhaps migrate from a competitive mindset to a cooperative mindset, and then the next step to a collaborative mindset, so that instead of it being about taking care of our own this, that, and the other thing, we're supporting one another in this to mutual benefit, which is a direction I'm curious to hear from others what they feel about that. And again, thank you, everyone. Wonderful to see you, and thanks to the organizers for putting this together.
Thank you, Ted. Great remarks. There's one thing I would like to inform also for others who might not know. When we asked for which organization are you a member of, that is Mindfulness Teachers Associations. And they are not companies. They are not doing marketing for the teachers. So they are not a body that, let's say, sells marketing. But these are people who get together. They are a community. So when we ask for that, it is in fact that EAMBA serves the local member associations, and that we would like local teachers to become a member in order that we can cooperate and collaborate and support each other, which is the mission of EAMBA. EAMBA is here that we learn together, that we support each other, and that we find ways of helping each other in every way. Yes, William. And then Noor.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is William van Hoek from the Netherlands. And I believe, yes, my MBA seminars are very, I don't get them full. And I want to talk about competition, because I don't think that we should be in competition with each other. And the reason why is that I think about it because of what is your interest motivation to do a mindfulness training. I mean, if you're depending on the money for the mindfulness, then I can understand that you are a little bit concerned about it. But if you do it mindfulness teaching from the heart to help people, then yeah, then I would say it's no problem when you have only one person or two persons. But I can understand when you have to earn your money with mindfulness seminars, then I believe you have a problem. And here in the Netherlands also we have a large company who does a lot of advertising and keep people get people to their own company for very low prices, and so that's I feel sorry for that. And yeah, That's what I want to tell. And yes, I believe that we shouldn't be in competition. I believe we should help each other, because that's, I believe, the main interest of everybody who does mindfulness. And that's about sharing. And I believe it should be that way.
Thank you, William.
Welcome.
Noor, would you like to continue? Your hand is up still. Yes, thank you.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Katarina, you started with the question to raise our voice and to share something about what brought us to this meeting. I'm from the Netherlands, from Eindhoven, and 38 years old, so I'm pretty fresh in age as within mindfulness. Finished my studies last December, and since 3 weeks I started with my first MBSR. So it's let's say a complete different background than probably most people who are present here. Background is a physician. I'm a family doctor, but I decided that MBSR is very much needed. And I want to do as much as I can within, let's say, our society here in the Netherlands, and eventually to translate it into Arabic and to offer it to the Arabic-speaking community in Europe. So I have a bigger dream ahead waiting for me, I think, but I'm living the dream at the moment. So the reason why I'm here actually is curiosity. And yes, I heard a lot of voices about the issue with filling the classes. And to be honest, I started in March, that 3 months after my education, with only 2 participants. But I decided it's okay enough, and I will see how things will go. What I at the moment face is that I work on my own, and I can tell you I'm very I'm very active in networking and having talks with many people. And even though that my background within medicine opens some doors from here and there, but it goes in really baby steps. And I don't know which will go to, but eventually I do think that your own background, profession, and what really makes you authentic will eventually open some certain doors. And it's a big inner frustration and an inner growth process, I'm sure. So yeah, I hope that mindfulness will help me and lead me, and I will live the mindfulness itself while embodying it. But I hope to hear more and more from you, how you have experienced the past and how you look at the current, because there is a process of about 40 years that I missed. And I hope to hear more from you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Noor. On that aspect of collaboration that has been mentioned 3 times now, I would like to invite you, Noor, you just already said you come from the medical profession. If any of you have experiences working in a multidisciplinary team, because in the explorations we had with the EAMBA community, we found a few people who already work in multidisciplinary teams. I myself do the same, where mindfulness is integrated with other disciplines like yoga, like healthcare, like psychology, psychotherapy, all kinds of nutrition education, where a person is helped in a holistic way, not only with one discipline, but many people engaged to support a person. And I would really like to invite you to think about bringing your experience on that point. With regard to competition, I think that within EAMBA, the main thing is support. When we heard about competition, then very often it is pre-recorded courses and apps that are growing in like more than 10% a year. And that is really a big growth, bigger growth percentages than we had with mindfulness in the last years. And maybe you also have some experience of your own growth or decrease, and you could share that with us. And now, Rini, you just raised your hand. Please unmute yourself. And then Deidre from Ireland, and Manfred, I think you're from Germany. Thank you. Rini, please.
Thank you. From a previous experience as a therapist, I had always worked in a cooperative of other therapists. And when I retired from therapy and decided to facilitate mindfulness, I took that model with me. I never ever wanted to, as a human being, as a member of the human race, as I always was interested in working cooperatively with other people. I never liked competition. And so I set up a mindfulness teachers cooperative. There are 7 of us currently in that cooperative. Some of them are here this evening. We, we're offered this model that, you need to market yourself, you need to do this, you need to do that, which puts us in direct competition with each other. This is the business model, and it comes from having to sell something. But we don't have to follow that model. I would really encourage people, and there are people who are putting it in chat at the moment who are also following that cooperative model. And I really like what you said, Katharina, about the multidisciplinary approach. I think that's really important as well. Many of us within the cooperative have lots of strings to our bows, so that's another thing to add in. And we've only been going about 6 months, but we are slowly beginning to find that niche, that place where we can encourage people to come to us for various reasons and to facilitate that. But we do, it's not just that we work in the same organization. We are fully cooperative with each other. We advertise everything for each other. We talk together, we co-facilitate, everything is cooperatively done. And I would really encourage that model. I think it's a great model, and I think it's a great model of mindfulness and one of the ways forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Rini. Very encouraging and also giving hope. Thank you. Please, Deirdre.
Thanks, Katharina, and thanks for organising. And it's just great to hear what everybody's at. One of the things for me that stands out is, in terms of the marketplace, is what is mindfulness. And it's really noisy out there, and there's a lot of things being advertised as mindfulness that's not my perception of what mindfulness is, or so the quality of teacher training and what makes one a mindfulness teacher. So again, I have this sense that, the embodiment of the teacher is really important. The common humanity in the class is really important. And there's so much richness and learning and service in that for the people that attend. So when I think of the external factors, it's like, with the nap, maybe I'm at home on my own. So I don't have the embodied teacher, and I don't have the group, the kind of common humanity of the group. And again, maybe it's like there's a place for everything, but how to, with the marketing hat on, how do we, let's say, as fully qualified mindfulness teachers, really distinguish ourselves in the marketplace, is a question that I wonder about. And when I come across people, maybe with fabulous marketing machines, and I go, but that's not mindfulness. And I can feel these very unwholesome feelings rising within me, so that's kind of, I think, a thing. And again, maybe through us cooperating and collaborating together, we can make a very effective noise in the noisy marketplace that would help. And both people accessing mindfulness, and then us as mindfulness teachers as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Deirdre. You mentioned the word distinguish, which is the central word in this. And François Besson is here. We will shortly have a meeting to share the Blue Ocean strategy. And the essence of that is that moving out of the red ocean, where the competition, the bloody competition exists, and moving out, being creative, moving into the blue ocean, where there are underserved populations and where there are people who need the mindfulness, but maybe we need a different business model. We need a different model of funding. This is what we are looking for. Distinguishing, not competition in a way that we hurt each other, but in a way that we make a difference, really a difference, and thereby making a value contribution. So, Francois, there are two people before you, but then I hope you will also speak to this point. Manfred, please unmute yourself. Thank you for speaking up.
Yeah, hello everybody. Manfred from Germany. You are right, Katrina. I'm from Germany. The topic competition. I'm very much thinking about it because I know many people who are earning their living by teaching mindfulness, MBSR, and others make some copies and call it just mindfulness training, not MBSR. And in order to be seen in the web, you have to pay Google much money for Google ads and something. Otherwise, you won't be seen on the first page or the second page, and nobody knows what you are bringing to the people. And you have to pay the rent for the rooms, which is very expensive, and all that. So there are some financial needs in order to fill the class, and in order to fill the class, you have to advertise. In order to advertise, you have to spend money, and the more money you spend, the more you are seen. And I don't like this, but this is how it's working. And I would like to find another way, but I didn't find it yet. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Manfred, for speaking up. We are here to hear all those voices and then to find possibilities and learn from each other. So maybe there will be something in this meeting or further on in this year. Yumna, is that correct? Do I spell it right? Do I speak it right? Pronounce it right?
Yes, it's right, Katharina. Thank you so much. Really glad to be here. I'm a doctoral candidate of psychology from northern Pakistan. So basically where I am right now is between Afghanistan and Kashmir. And mindfulness is comparatively new here, so there's hardly any competition. They talked about underserved population, and I'm basically studying stress reduction. So I'm quoting and citing Jon's work a lot, and also planning to take the MBSR course to form a community, because right now there are less research papers here, there's less research for MBSR here, and I think it can do wonders in the population. And academia here is open for collaborations and to study it further. So I'm just really glad to be a part of the community. Yes, the cost is the problem. For example, if you have to register the courses, if there could be some scholarship discounts or anything, there will be a lot of psychology and psychiatry candidates who are going to take this course, and it's going to help a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Yumna. Very, very important. Thank you. The next person I see, Francois. Yes. Welcome.
Hey, good afternoon or morning or evening, everyone. I'm really in awe for EAMBA and Jon to have made this possible. This is just amazing. 400 and some people from around the world. I'm from Bordeaux in France, the wine country where people may be more relaxed. I don't know if it's because of the wine, but there's a pretty vibrant MBSR instructor community around here because of the fabulous work of one of the early French teachers of MBSR, Stéphane Faure, and also Emmanuel Roch. And one of the things we've started doing over the years is recognizing that it's a human feeling of scarcity sometimes, feeling scarcity, feeling competition because of scarcity and because of the sheer number of instructors as compared to the population here in Bordeaux. And so I think it's just pure mindfulness to see, sense, and name the fact that this exists, right? We would love not to feel competition, but this is what our subconscious drives us to feel sometimes, and that's okay. So one of the things we've been doing is just talk to each other. So we fully recognize that there may be a limited pool of participants, and we are together to grow visibility for MBSR in this region. And so we're trying to meet about once a quarter among instructors in the area to just get to know each other a bit more, become friends whenever possible, and also just concretely share and compare our plans for the quarters to come in terms of, who is to facilitate in different areas of the city or the surroundings of the city, who's going to facilitate in the, Mondays or Wednesdays or whatever, in the evenings or afternoons. And I think that helps, because there's a sense of, trying to accommodate. I mean, maybe I might maintain my program on Wednesday evening because that's the only evening I can have access to a class. I'm into a facility, but still I'm trying to talk to other people to see whether I can change, or whether some can change to try and not be frontally on the same slots of the same days of the same month or weeks of the quarter. So this is no silver bullet, but I think it's great. It gives a bit more of a sense of community and support, and being able to share how we feel about what we're living. But and having said this, I am noticing, probably like many of you, a kind of change in participant behavior, right? For the past 1 year or two, people seem to be very late, deciding whether they want to spend 450 euros in this or that or not. And the last thing I'd like to share is that I'm very grateful for all those country association, if not maybe you, John, to have designed that unique price, which means that at least we're not competing on price, which is super important. We're just there. We're publishing our programs and hoping that people will sign up. And Catherine, I'm really looking forward to our upcoming workshop on Blue Ocean strategy, but that will be another subject, I guess. And thank you for listening and being here and sharing.
Thank you, Francois. And also for bringing another word into this meeting, the word friendship. Because friendship can be really the most important basis for what we call this cooperation, this collaboration. And it can take us through difficult times. So thank you for bringing also that word, and thank you for giving us the example on how you implement that word in your community to be together. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Benoit from Belgium, would you please unmute your phone, and thank you for speaking up.
Hello. Thank you for the organization. Well, yes, we are stronger together. So it's good that we join and organize ourselves by region, I would say locally. I'd like to talk about the go-to market, to come to the marketing. Or we target mostly individuals, and it's the most difficult targeting we can experience. We have to go and meet each person and convince them. Maybe we could try, and we are stronger together to do that, to target organizations, schools, hospitals, resting houses, I don't know, companies, businesses, and bring mindfulness to them, either with MBSR or with skills we do have to bring some mindfulness. And I'd like to share something I'm working on today. I work on attention management. It is the basis of mindfulness, but I think every one of us has got some skills about attention management, and this is a crucial problem in the society. It is a business problem for the businesses. It is a financial problem for the businesses. And I know, I'm sorry to talk about this here, but anyway, we have answers. We have solutions for societal problems that the society is encountering. And yes, mindfulness is a solution, and we need to teach mindfulness. But we can begin with some more, I would say trivial stuff like information and attention management. That would bring people to mindfulness, and that's what I'm working on. I tell businesses, work on the attention management of your people. They will be more productive, but also they will experience well-being at the end. And studies show that, or you can find very recent and older studies, scientific studies, which show that attention or distraction leads to unhappy. You know, this famous study from Killingsworth saying that mindless people are unhappy people. Okay, so that's, I don't want to talk too much, but we should think together, how can we go to the systems, not the individual? How can we have an influence on systems, on organizations, on businesses? And then by working at the systems level, I think it's going to be, it's not going to be easier, but it's going to be more powerful. And the organizations will feel the difference, because we are going to reach a threshold of people inside a system which will really change the climate and the kindness, the overall kindness of the organization in schools, hospitals, any place. I think we should think about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Benoit. You said many inspiring things too that I want to highlight is the targeting of organizations. Teresa Ranieri is here, and maybe you can speak up on this, Teresa, where an organization was targeted and groups of people were offered mindfulness training, and they didn't have to pay it, which was a very important thing, because in our Western cultures, people also value things because they have to give value back. And if it is for nothing, like in Corona, very many things were given for nothing. In Teresa's project, they found out that people would do the body scan while using their tablet and answering their emails. There must be, when an organization pays, there must be something that people still take responsibility for the learning. So that's a very important aspect if we would succeed in getting organizations pay for it. And the second thing that you talked about, bring people to mindfulness also via what you called trivial stuff. And the bell it rang is, there is this program that is called Start to Run. And Start to Run is meant for people who haven't run in a long time, to prevent that they get injured. And they start very, very slowly, like with 10-minute runs or with walks. And so gradually, and this could be an inspiration for our formats, they don't start with a 40-minute exercise, they start with 10 minutes. Of course, there are other examples. If you go to dancing school and you want to learn the tango, you cannot say, oh, I will start to dance and I will do it for 10 minutes and then my feet are tired and I will go home. So we would have to find possibilities between what you call the trivial stuff and then step up. Yes. So that being said, Teresa, I'm inviting you to step up. I can't see where you are. Thank you, Benoit. Mirto, hello. Please unmute yourself.
Hello, Katarina. Hello, everyone. So wonderful to be here. I guess hearing Benoit and yourself as well speak before, I realized that we're very much aligned, because this is what I would like to share. It's about this collaboration, but also, I guess, taking into account that while we sort of bring together more teachers, then we can have more impact into leveraging some already well-established institutions that can become advocates, but also fund some of these programs in order to reach the people that are more in need. So my background was in corporate for many years. And then after facing burnout, I started practicing meditation, and then I became an MBSR teacher. And because of my background, I started teaching in corporates quite early in my MBSR, let's say, career. And in the beginning, I was feeling guilty because it was like I was back in like that bad place, or, corporations being the bad guys there that are causing so much problems for a lot of people in the environment. But then I realized that work there can be extremely impactful, because if we can support people that are working in organizations, we're essentially perhaps even working in terms of prevention, of health prevention, mental health prevention, rather than, I don't know what your experience is, but typically the people that come to my MBSR classes are typically people that have already that are already suffering from a chronic condition or a serious mental health condition or burnout. So what I saw is that working through corporations, I had the possibility to make an impact to a large number of people that would have perhaps never come in contact with mindfulness and the way of the MBSR program until it was very late and they would come as an individual to the class. So the way I started seeing things is a little bit different. So how can I leverage these organizations, these corporations that want to sort of be involved, and see if they can fund some of these programs in order to reach people that are underserved, or communities that are underserved. So this is a work in progress, but I'm just sharing this with the community here to see also what your impressions are, not only with corporations, but also other institutions or associations, or, for example, patients associations that perhaps are not yet up to speed with how mindfulness can help with a specific condition. I teach in Greece, and this is a very new practice here in my country. So a lot of my work has to do with awareness about this practice and how it's scientifically supported and how it can help. So perhaps bringing that into the healthcare sector through associations, or even collaborating with other teachers, and then looking at funding from European projects from the European Union that can support a large number of people through projects such as Erasmus, for example, that are funding similar initiatives for underserved communities. So I guess what I wanted to share, and also see what what your ideas are, is how we can think of how we can serve more people by bringing this goodness of mindfulness that we're all here because of that, but through that sense that not as each one of us individually, because that's the toughest game to play, to break through the clutter of marketing the way it is done right now, but perhaps looking at, collaborating as teachers, but also looking at an institutional level to see that then how we can make a bigger impact. And the other thing I wanted to say, because it was something that I struggled with a lot in the beginning of when I started teaching mindfulness, although I was a marketeer, is that I thought marketing was the bad guy. It was impossible for me to market. It was very hard. I felt very guilty putting my work out there. And then I read this amazing quote, and I think it has helped me a lot. So I'm going to share it with you. It might help some of you or not. And it's a quote by this writer called Anne Lamott. She's an American writer that I love. And she says, lighthouses don't go running around all over an island looking for boats to save. They just stand there shining. So I think I don't know how that sounds for you, but nobody's going to know about the goodness of MBSR and mindfulness unless we talk about it and get heard. And it's not the bad guy. It's something that we need to do, because there's people out there just like you and me. I heard about it from someone, and I'm grateful for that. I read somewhere an ad or someone talking about it. I'm grateful for it. And I came into that path. So thank you for opening this discussion. It's precious for me from a small country, and grateful to be part of this community. Looking forward to the rest of the dialogue.
Thank you, Marital, and especially for bringing this concern whether marketing and communication is bad, but also for, and some others, Nora already mentioned that, for not abdicating your previous profession, because previous professions inform us if we integrate it with the things that we are offering now, and these skills can really help us to be able to offer what we have to give, to share the value, if we use it instead of we just go and pivot our careers. It has been valuable, so why not use it? And the third thing that I heard is, you mentioned science. We need to see what the variety is of what is convincing. Science is convincing for some people, but not for others. So maybe we can have diversity in what is convincing for people to step up and at least get a taste in mindfulness and see for themselves, experiment whether it works for them. And welcome, Anna. Please unmute yourself and thank you for speaking up.
Hi, everyone. It's a huge pleasure to be here today and with you all. I would like to share, I'm in Portugal, same as Teresa. I'm quite new. I'm an MBSR teacher for a year, something like that. And in Portugal, we are a small country. And in the big cities like Lisbon, we have a lot of teachers. It's not that easy. So, but it's interesting because most of my colleagues or teachers, they teach alone because in Portugal, people don't have much money. The income is really reduced. So the price of a MBSR is probably a half or something like that from other European countries. So it's quite different. So most of the people teach the MBSR alone, so they can have the income they need for the course or the class. But I decided with another teacher that we should co-teach. And it was a good decision because we were two trying to find people to fill our classes. And it was a really interesting experience. And we are keeping on and giving classes, and we have students, one from my side, some from her side. And it has been a really nice collaboration. So it's another way of doing it. Of course, we earn a little bit less, but overall, I think it's an idea for some of you, I don't know. But here for us, it was really, on a personal level, really interesting because we are always learning with the other teacher too. And at the same time, we have feedback of our way of teaching. So it has been really interesting. And then I started practicing mindfulness for health reasons, chronic pain, chronic diseases. So I have a lot of issues going on with myself. And that's the way I start. And I have to thank Jon because he was a lifesaver in a point of my life, hearing something on YouTube, and suddenly everything was not so black and difficult. So I start contacting, as I think Gigi told, patients associations and hospitals. And some of them don't care, but others, they are really interested in knowing it. And sometimes if you give the data on the science for doctors is really important. It's interesting with MS, with all the autoimmune conditions, cancer. And I think sometimes it's difficult if you're marketing on the social media, but I don't know if we try to go more directly to the niches that might help us to get to the people that really have a need. They really need something beside the medication or the perspective that the doctors are giving them about life, and so how can they live their life. And it makes really a huge difference. So these two things. Then I want to say something about what Katerina told us about the thing that if people don't pay, they don't value the opportunity that they are having. And in the corporate world, it's really hard to deliver MBSRs because usually it's the company that pays, so it's a little bit harder to have people focused and interested. And I have an idea that I never implemented. It was in this context of corporate classes, people pay And if they don't give up the classes and they are there the 8 weeks and they invest in the classes, we pay back at the end of the course. It's like they don't pay, but they have that feeling that they are investing in something. It's just an idea that is really here in my mind. I don't know if it makes sense for anyone and if it works, but it was a way of minimizing that lack of investment from the person individually. And I think that's it. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you all for your ideas, and looking forward to hear more people. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna, and also for the great example of your collaboration and co-teaching. On the theme of low fees or low prices for courses, maybe Sasha or Dragana from Montenegro and Serbia, if you are here, you could also speak up on that, because you're not alone, Anna, in Portugal. There are countries in Europe where people make have a very low income, so the prices really have to be adapted. I saw in the chat that someone cheered a universal price, but there's also from Anne Little in France, is that so? That she says, we really have to listen to our target audiences and adapt what we are doing to them, and that also holds for prices. So thank you for joining in, and thank you for speaking up. Patrick, welcome. Hello. Please unmute yourself.
Hello, and thank you for this meeting. First of all, I'd like to say that I'm very touched by this meeting, because I see how much we are here to be concerned by sharing MBSR and mindfulness. And I hear about collaboration, sharing. I hear a lot of generosity here. And also the point I'd like to bring is, I heard the words competition and collaboration. And someone said we should be together to promote everyone. And that's an idea that I liked a lot. I like the idea to be together. And to be one way to be together is to be part of organizations. And some organizations could be very supportive, but also an organization may be a place of power, of control. My experience in our field is that sometimes organization says who is a good MBSR teacher and who is not, who has a good training and who has not. What I mean is that sometimes big organization brings separation and exclusivity. And I don't know what to do with that. I'd like that. I think our field needs more openness and diversity. I think organization to really support MBSR teacher should be open to diversity. And when I hear, very often I listen to Jon, and thank you, Jon, to be here and to listen to all this. I hear how you promote that diversity, how you say everyone here is welcome and has his own richness to bring. I don't see that always in some organization that are supposed to be are supposed to support MBSR teachers. So I think, well, that this is my point. How can we bring that sense of openness and diversity into our organizations? Thank you very much for this meeting and for everyone to listen to each other.
Thank you, Patrick. It's a really wonderful keyword that you are bringing, and I'm grateful personally for the word openness. It's so important, and that is the biggest difference between competition and collaboration. Dear Sophia, please unmute yourself.
Wow, thank you, Katharina, and everybody here for this amazing gathering. I'm drinking a cup of tea, feeling like we all are together in the same planet. Thank you so much. I am a teacher in San Diego, California. I'm from Colombia, and I teach in Spanish mainly because 80% of the population in San Diego is Spanish speaker. So I've been trying to cooperate with the Spanish speaker teachers, and it's very challenging. Most of you have mentioned that you guys have lots of teachers in your communities. Well, here, Spanish speakers are only few, and trying to cooperate with many others in Latin America and Central America. What I have done, I want to share this with you. It's I think Andrea Weber is on the microphone open. Sorry, I just want to make sure you guys can hear me.
Yes.
Yes.
You're quite
perfect.
audible,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, great. So I approach universities in the area offering MBSR in Spanish. And I have offered also translate documents and contents in English that I could translate in Spanish. Sometimes I find people saying, no, I did a lot of work for that. I don't want you to translate. I say, well, that's the reason why you've done a lot of work for that. I would love to translate for the people, for the more people to know. I have encountered a lot of different personalities, but I also remember that I am doing my best, so I don't care about what the outcome is. And I often remember John's words saying that the participants should be paying us. So I approach this from my point of view. Of course, I need to pay my bills, but I approach this from the point of view of really sharing. Because when I feel when someone is trying to sell me something, I feel that need, and I don't want to do that to my community. I have been loving, for example, what Simona has shared with marketing. I follow Simona, and I'm in this meeting because of her, so I want to thank Simona for that too. And I don't belong to any organization in particular, but I connect with people around the world because the map of love that people put together based on the meetings that we have with Jon during the pandemic. That's a very powerful source too. If you haven't checked on that, that's beautiful. And I have a question for you guys, because especially in England, I heard that insurance pays for the MBSR. I don't know if that's a myth or it's true, but I've been loving the possibility for insurance to really support these teachings. And I want to encourage you guys, don't change too much of the format, because the format is beautiful. People is doing 3-week courses, 6-week courses. We have to honor we have to honor the 8-week courses. We have to honor the 7-hour retreat. We cannot come short. I mean, if we need to, of course, we can do a variety of offerings, but don't sell yourself to what is needed and change things because of that. We have to keep an eye on what is this for, and it requires on science 21 days to change a habit. So please honor science too. Thank you so much, and that's from me. If you ever need a Spanish instructor, anything you want to translate, please count on me. Thank you so much, and thank you, John, for being here listening to us.
Thank you, Sophia. You just gave us a great example of selling. Because in my opinion, selling is also helping others to take a good decision, a decision that is good for them. And you just closed your remarks by telling us, if you need a teacher in Spanish or someone to translate, call us. So this is ethical selling in my definition, right? But of course, when we look at internal factors, these factors that have in the last remarks have been mentioned: openness, generosity, selling, money. Those are things that we have representations in our brain. And sometimes they are negative connotations. So maybe we take, there are now 1, 2, 3, 5, 8 hands raised. We take those remarks, those responses, and then we take a pause and maybe listen to what Jon would like to comment on. And then we can maybe switch to the internal factors, because so far we have talked a lot about the external factors. Thank you, Sophia. And with this, Aurelia, please, would you unmute yourself from Poland?
Yes, hello everyone. My heart is jumping because this is my first time with this huge community, and I'm not an MBSR teacher. I bring mindfulness to children. I was trained by Eline Snell from the Netherlands, but I also took courses at mindful schools in the US, and also from Dr. Christopher Willard. So maybe some of you know these people. So I would say I rather plant the seeds than like bring this like full version of mindfulness. But what I want to share with you is maybe some ideas how to approach people, because I come from marketing business. My first 15 years were in marketing. So what I do to approach people is to, first of all, share my experience and my knowledge on like Facebook and Instagram, and build community here in Poland around mindfulness for children. And somehow this comes back to me because parents, they organize trainings at schools. So I mostly work at schools and at kindergartens, and it's easier to approach an organization than to gather a group of like, let's say 8 or 10 children for a course. Because when you approach one organization, you have 40 children, for example, for a course. And what I also changed a little bit, because Eline Snell course is an 8-week course. But thanks to my additional experience with mindful schools and with Dr. Christopher Willard, I am able now to provide longer support, like to maintain the practice. So in some schools, I am there for like half a year, visiting children and running practices together. So sometimes adjusting the meetings to their needs. So this is one idea, that approaching organization may be easier. But I would also like to refer to the point that you said that if people don't pay, they don't value. And here I would like to disagree, because I am since half a year, I've been a part of a foundation, and we run courses for teachers that are connected with the crisis, the war that is going on in Ukraine, because we have a lot of refugees right now in Poland. So a lot of kids, Ukrainian kids, joined Polish schools. And the foundation that's called SOC Foundation, they established a project that is an online project, and we joined forces with an MBSR teacher, but also some other psychologists and therapists. And we built an online program that is called Calm Head, and is supporting teachers for free, because the foundation has grants from the US and from private donors, from corporations. And thanks to this money, we were able to develop this like a video pre-recorded course together with online live workshops. And teachers, they don't pay for the course, but they really value it. So the course is not an MBSR program, but is combined, like, you know, combining mindfulness with mindfulness for children and self-practice, a lot of self-practice, but also some work that is connected with refugees. So how to work with refugee children and how to integrate them into our community. So this is just to disagree on, you know, if people don't pay, they don't value, because we have a lot of evidence that they do value. And then they go further, they take MBSR courses. After this, like first experience with those, let's say, bits of mindfulness, some of them decide to go further and take the full course. So maybe this is somehow helpful. And I want to thank you for the possibility of meeting you all, meeting your organization. Glad to be here. And I would like to wish all of you good luck and worry-free teaching, that, you know, you can bring mindfulness to the world without worrying about your own financial situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Aurelia. And also thanking for bringing variety in something that might have sounded like a generalization. What I meant to say is that in our culture, money is always in the equation. And so very often that is also an expression of the value. What you describe is that you have really motivated people who really want this. And that is very important. Also, if in a corporation or if in an organization at work, if people are offered the mindfulness from that organization, I think they should always be free. It should never be something that they are obliged to participate in. So that's very important. And thank you for correcting that. Sometimes a remark can be so provocative that there is new information. Thank you very much. We are now, would like to listen to you, Sid. Would you please unmute yourself?
Yes, can you hear me?
Thank you for speaking up.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me here, and thank you for everyone here, and for the 400 people that are here to share your energy and some amazing insights. So my name is Sid Desai. I'm a mindfulness and breathwork coach. I'm also the co-founder and CEO of Rocket VR Health. We are building virtual reality therapies that help reduce stress, anxiety, and depression. So we take therapies and therapeutic modalities that work in real life and are a bit more abstract in nature, and we translate them into immersive virtual reality delivered therapies. And what's interesting is, we're clinically validating our approaches through rigorous clinical trials and FDA clearances. And we've even created a virtual reality version of MBCR, which is mindfulness-based cancer recovery, which is an offshoot of Jon's MBSR created by Dr. Linda Carlson, who I'm sure Jon knows about. And the results from that program are spectacular. They're extremely high engagement rates, 7 to 8 hours worth of content. And we're able to reach individuals who are far away from cities in remote locations where they can't make it into the city, either due to travel restrictions or just because they have cancer and they're unable to reach. So, our goal as a company is not to replace mindfulness instructors, obviously, is to is to really help augment their toolkit to reach more people, especially younger people, using a format that they can actually consume, which I think is really important. A lot of younger people I know of are skipping these gold mine, I guess, of methods for better mental health and well-being, and are going straight to modalities or medication that we wouldn't want them to be on if there's a better alternative available. So I believe it's really important to speak to them in a language that they understand. And the next generation of folks who are consuming mindfulness will look different, they'll speak different, they'll consume different things. So, so with that, I'd really like to focus on 3 kind of core points from this meeting today and add a bit more color to this conversation. The first thing is about competition. In my opinion, it's not just competing with other MBSR providers, but it's also other modalities. If you really think about it, when somebody's stressed or seeking help, they're really hiring a tool to help them with their stress. And there's a lot of tools out there, right? There's distractions, there's binge watching content online. So I'd like to share that we need to understand the why behind why people are accessing, mindfulness or MBSR versus other modalities, and how can we, create a community that can empower that there is a more sustainable way for everybody to find peace and suffering from the suffering that they're going through. My second point is about the delivery modality. Last week, we had a wonderful EAMBA meeting where we discussed advantages of digital methods of delivering mindfulness interventions. And I'd like to offer an analogy here. So when insulin, which is the diabetes prevention kind of drug, was invented and created, the adherence rates for insulin was very low because it was being delivered in a format that was an insulin vial and an injector pen, injection, I guess. And until a company like Novartis, they came up and they made an insulin pen. It's the same core ingredient, which is insulin, but the delivery modality was different. And that skyrocketed adoption, that skyrocketed adherence to insulin. So I think sometimes we have to think of creative ways to change the delivery modality or adapt the delivery modality, not entirely, but to a certain degree. And the last part is about corporations. So I'm here in Boston, and in the US here, a lot of companies have started to adopt digital therapeutics. These are therapies that are covered by insurance and are sometimes often paid for by corporations for their employees. A lot of corporations here in the US have EAP programs, they're employee assistance programs. And one thing we have learned is that corporations here in the US, they want a full platter of solutions. Sometimes they don't just want that one thing, and they prefer having some of these therapies delivered over technology to reach these remote employees and everybody out there. So just wanted to share those thoughts. And if anybody has any questions on any part of what I talked about today, I'm happy to help and answer. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sid. Thank you. That really shows us that going forward, we can integrate the new technology, at least if we do it in an ethical way. And also thanking for offering that we can come back to you. VR might be a way to go. Thanks. Rudolf, would you please unmute yourself?
Yes, thank you. Actually, Sid has said a lot of what I wanted to say in a very articulate way. I noticed that Jon, when he made his introduction, said that he's mainly focusing on the M, and because mindfulness has a lot more to offer than just stress reduction. So if we talked about competition, in my opinion, it's not those who offer mindfulness in a way that's maybe not according to the rules or in a very cheap process or with recorded classes. I think if the objective is to let as many people as possible benefit from mindfulness, then the competition is with everything that is distracting and preventing people from learning about mindfulness. And I think there are many people who could be very interested. If we could get their interest, that would also increase the demand. But a lot of them are, I think, put off by the thought that it's about sitting on a pillow and meditation, or it's the fixed format. And in fact, the meditation is just the training of the mind, and the long-term benefits are in the day-to-day application of the principles. So I think the pragmatic application deserves more awareness to attract a wider audience. So the question I think that we should deal with, or one of the many questions, is what can we do to motivate more people to become interested and consider mindfulness?
Yes, thank you, Rudolf. And as many who have spoken up already said, it's also knowing those who want and need that mindfulness. Exactly. And not because selling in the old definition is to be in love with your product instead of with your client.
Yeah, exactly.
Be in love, exactly. And that is selling. Then pushing that product through their throat instead of listening what they really need, and then offering it in a way that is possible for them to receive.
Yeah, and I'm very happy that you say that, because that's also a tendency I'm hearing in this discussion here, that maybe this rigidity, we need to let go of that to reach more people who will benefit from it. So that's all I wanted to say, but I'm happy about that. And thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Yeah, and thank you for raising that. Manuela, hello. Please unmute yourself.
Yes, hello, Catherine. I'm very happy about this meeting and listen to Jon, and that Jon is listening and we are all listening to each other, and you are highlighting the essence of everyone who is talking. I really enjoy that. So I don't want to repeat something, but I really liked what Myrto mentioned from Greece, that stand there shining. And it really touched me, because I think if we can't reach people, or if we don't fill classes, or if that is our, we are in love with our product, but still we don't get the chance, or seem not to get the chance, then for me, it's always a chance to start more practice more with myself. And there is a story, a yoga teacher in San Francisco was really in her room, in her space, and nobody came. And she was sitting there practicing meditation, and in her mind, connecting with the whole of the Sangha, the whole lot of her Sangha, all the people, like we 400 people, or And after maybe 6 months or so, people came, and now she is a very well-known yoga school. And I think this is a very nice idea as well. It's not selling, but selling, like you said, you are in love with your product, and the product is in your heart. I mean, we are engaged with our hearts. And so we are not only concerned with money, it's a nourishment, is spiritual nourishment. And it's in the Bible, it is written that the lilies don't bother with their clothing and their nourishment. And sometimes I think we bother too much about the external factors. And for me, if I have only 1 or 2 people, I teach. And if I have nobody, I teach myself. So this is it. This is my contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manuela. Really another perspective. Thank you. Here, Teresa, dear colleague, please.
Yeah, thank you everybody for being here. We have really tried to gather the community, and so I'm happy so many have reached back to us and are present. So, and thank you, Katharina, for offering this space. Also, I didn't wish to talk, but here I am. So I live in Portugal, and here it's one of the poorest country in Europe, and so we had to how we can offer this opportunity for people to have an experience with mindfulness, even if they cannot pay it. So And I have a couple of colleagues here also in this call, like Albertina and Marta, and Christina, she's not there. So we made an application and we received quite an essential amount of money from the government, and we are introducing mindfulness in schools. And there is a project which is called My Serena, so Serene Mind, which has a protocol. And so we start with MBSR, and then after the MBSR, this is for the adults, so for the teachers and psychologists and social workers that work in schools to learn, have an MBSR, and then they go into learning how to offer this into the classroom. And so this is going over 6 months. So this is a model, and as mindfulness teacher are paid not for participant, but per hour. This is really a model and is quite successful, and we know that we are going to reproduce after the first period. So it's very gratifying because so we have 10 MBSR, and every MBSR has 16, more or less, 15 participants, and there are 10 of them. So that means we're educating 150 people that are then working with kids and applying this into the classroom. So this is a huge impact in the country, and this is just one region of Portugal. And the project has been, first of all, developed into an university context, and this is also bringing, of course, some status to also apply for a grant for the government. So this is what's happening in a small country like Portugal. So if this is possible here, I think this is possible everywhere, and I'm really grateful for also the effort of my colleagues that are here as well, to really seed is really a seed, and it's also so important the impact that is going to have into the society. So teaching, creating a culture in school which is about caring, which is about really listening, dealing skillfully with our emotions. And of course, it's not just mindfulness, it's social emotional education as well. So this is one thing. And otherwise, just very shortly, I work here in Portugal in a very specific project, which is in an integrative care model where there are psychologists. That's me, mindfulness teacher, and other modalities, and is in residence. So people come here for a month or so. So this is another model where mindfulness can be included into an intervention. This is an integrative intervention. So there are many ways, and you can teach the mindfulness, and not just the 8-week courses. It requires a lot of flexibility and creativity. And also, I believe your own practice is essential, but also how you can impact the people around you, and going over also your personal limitation and find ways to really collaborate and introduce mindfulness in a wider context of the society. So this is my personal experience. So I live really full time from this, and it's very gratifying. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Teresa. And also the place you're working at is a great example of this multidisciplinary approach that I was talking about before, where a person can have support not only from a mindfulness teacher, but also from other disciplines, and really in a holistic way develop or heal. Isn't it? Thank you. And Claudia. And then 3 more people, and then we will have a small pause. Yes, thank you, Claudia. Please unmute yourself. And then
Yes.
Eva, Elizabeth, and Christine.
Yes, hi. Thank you for giving, do you hear me? Yes? Yeah, great, okay. Thank you, giving me also a voice in this huge group. I feel my heartbeat is going quite fast, but I felt also, and maybe that's the right feeling to be on the stage right now, to say, hey, I want to share it too, because I would like to share something about my path in being a mindfulness trainer for the last couple of years. I'm doing this work for almost 9 years as a professional and 11 as a human being, I would say. Those are going together, of course. And at first, I had groups. I had many groups on a row filled. And nowadays I see, and I think that started already a little bit before the Corona time came in, that it's shrinking, that it's becoming smaller and smaller. And in that respect, I would say, or would like to bring in the word authenticity, because I see what's working for me. It is more on the individual base. I'm stronger in my trainership and being as a coach one-on-one. And once when I did the education, I already mentioned to my teacher at that time, hey, could I bring this program also in an individual way? However, I started to do some groups, and it was really fun. It was really great to share the knowledge, but also experience and facilitate the same experiences or everyone's experiences in the group. So it exchanged on the road. And in that respect, I think I would do, how do you say that in English? Support the people to be on its own path of, hey, what does fit? Does the group fit? Does individually fit? Or what way does fit for you? And if you dare to follow that, and in that respect, mindfulness helped me on the road every day, I started to hear trust the process. And I think trust is a nice base to be active with, and to see how do I want to run my company? How do I want to share mindfulness about that? And yeah, so follow that, and then those connections come from itself. And the lighthouse has been mentioned already earlier today. It's actually a kind of metaphor or picture which fits to me too. I'm here and I want to teach you in mindfulness. So if you are ready for that, you can and probably find me from itself. It's a somewhat automatic or maybe universal process. People come to people because it's meant to be. And that's carrying a lot of trust in itself. And then the way of having huge or small marketing doesn't matter so much anymore. And yes, I've been on the road also about, it should be big and everyone should see me and so on. But I think the most important in this is how does it feel for you? How does it feel for me? And is it right to do it like, yeah, the bigger group is doing, or should I do it my own way? So the authenticity word is maybe the key word in this. See what fits for you, and then it will fit to everyone. And if everyone, I would say, be in its authentic way, then it's connecting in some way. So that's what I wanted to share about that. So thank you for being on speaking.
Thank you, Claudia, and also for bringing again that perspective that Manuela stressed. Be there. And for some it works. But you might also be doing something unconsciously other than only being there, which is such a core quality to you that you don't even realize that that also helps to attract people to you. So we are here to bring out those unconscious things that we do. And the most of the time, our core competences are those unconscious things that we do because we are what we do. So let's see, two more, three, Eva, Elizabeth, and Christine. And then, John, I would like to invite you to maybe comment on an impression you got, and then we might turn to internal factors. Eva, please. Yes, you're already unmuted.
Hello, everybody. I had a great opportunity to share the silence with almost 400 people. It really moved my heart because I've never lived something like that. And I have to thank Jon because of its book, The Full Catastrophe Living. I had to stop because of burnout. And when I had to understand what happened to me, reading the book was like if he was talking about my own life, because I was gone for years. And when we talk when we talk about needs, I would talk about awareness and how to bring awareness to everybody's life, because if you are not aware of what you need, it's impossible to buy it. So it's what happened to me. I mean, if someone had talked to me about mindfulness before and said, okay, yes, I would have said, no, it's okay, I don't have time for that. And when I read about you meditate as if your life depended on it, because it does depend on it, it was real for me. So I am back. I work for a large company in banking, and I put into practice my own essence on every customer, but I would like to work on prevention. I mean, during my leave, I was on my own, and I wonder if something could have been done to prevent my illness. So I'm going to take the EAMBA training teacher, and I have with Saki Santorelli a retirement now, and I would love to put it into my workmates. So to put my essence at their disposal. I have a mother of 2 children as well, and prevention is not only in companies. It's how. It's not. I mean, I think you have to respect their people's own paths and timing. You know, because I'm 44, and 44 was my time to reborn again. I'm trying to teach my kids to open their hearts and to be able to listen to themselves always, and to embrace what they're feeling rather than avoid it. So prevention, it's, I don't know, it doesn't matter the age, the company, but it's bring awareness is the barrier I have to face with today with my workmates, because they might not even think they need to stop. But I'll just throw the seeds with my essence, my love seeds, and to offer them what I am. And that's it. I don't want to take any more time from my colleagues. So thank you. I appreciate your time and the opportunity to raise my voice. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is so important to do the prevention and to make sure that the people who have this burnout, who are in fact the canaries, telling us that something is wrong in the coal mine, and then to address the coal mine to prevent that things happen. Good to see you're up again. Thank you. Elizabeth, also based in Portugal. Good to see you.
Hi, good to see you all too. Thank you so much for this meeting. And yeah, exciting to see some familiar faces here. I just felt like very shortly sharing a little bit. I'm from the Netherlands, but I'm based in Portugal in the very southwest corner, a very rural area. And I've been sharing the trainings of mindfulness. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yes, I've been sharing the training of mindfulness for about 8 years now. And it's ongoing learning, I have to say. The group sizes vary a lot from, let's say, 1, 2 to maybe 9. And I've recently closed a group of 8 people, which I was very much surprised with in this time. But what I've learned in my area, that it very much depends on the seasons. This is most people that live here live on tourism. And for the local community, whether it's local Portuguese or residents, to commit to an 8-week program depends on the season. So the fall and the winter seasons are mostly suitable for an 8-week program. And what I've also learned in relation to marketing, or what I'm learning, let's say like that, is what I see is that I think over 50 or 60% of the people that join come through mouth to mouth. I think that's still one of the most important ones. I still commit to in-person training, not online, but to be with the people in the group in the area itself. And a lot of people come through other people. So I think we should also not forget about that yeah, the mouth to mouth, the word spreads the word of the work of mindfulness. And one thing that I've also started to notice here, which is sort of like a new trend, and I don't know if that is something that fits other areas as well, is that people start to work more and more with the sliding scale pricing, because we have the local people and the local foreigners that live on a local income here in Portugal, but there's more and more people coming, foreigners coming who work remotely and who have their income from foreign sources, which are sometimes very different from what people earn here. So people start to use the sliding scale, and where people choose honestly from where they come from, what they can offer for this training. I've not done that in the mindfulness course. I'm contemplating on it. I do this in other areas where I work with mindful birthing or doula work in grief companionship. So yeah, that's maybe also something to take into consider, that these things might also be possible. And yeah, I guess I leave it with that. I would have more to say, but I don't want to take too much time. So yeah, just thank you for listening. And thank you, Jon, for meeting you in person here online. It's very nice.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And also for bringing that sliding scale. That's what's in fact very close to setting your own price, or maybe a merger with Dana. And by the way, we still have 1.5 hours. So if you want to say more, you can come back. Christine, please unmute yourself. And then after that, Jon, I would invite you to comment. What is your impression so far? Christine, welcome.
Thank you, Katharina, and thank you to you and your lovely team. Teresa was a very dear colleague and friend of mine, and to Elizabeth as well, another colleague in the Algarve. I have the same struggles as Elizabeth, finding people. It's very transient, the people who come here in the Algarve. I'm not Portuguese, unfortunately, so I can't serve the Portuguese-speaking public. And it's been, so I had 2 courses up for MBCT Live. So I trained in MBCT Live from Oxford Mindfulness Foundation, and no one showed up and no one signed up. And it was deflating and I was demotivated. And 2 weeks ago, I said to Teresa, I'm ready to throw in the towel here because I'm so frustrated. How do I market my product? But then so much has come up now with this lovely group that has shared, and I can resonate with what has been said here. And I've also actually looked inward and asked myself, am I blocking myself in some way? What is going on? What are the stories I'm telling myself? So how am I showing up? So this also plays a very important role, I guess, as teachers. And what's the focus? Is it just to survive? You know, we need the money. I'm just lucky I'm not dependent on the monetary income from it. And so what I did last year was I offered it for free to underserved communities. And I had a group of 16 counselors and psychologists from a little town in Kenya. And I can't tell you, that was the most rewarding experience I've ever had in the 3 years that I'm teaching this program. And just their heartfulness, their Zoom wouldn't work, they would be dropping out. And after every session, they would ask me to let them use the Zoom because they couldn't afford to have Zoom meetings together. And I would allow them the space. And then I once dropped in to see if they'd finished, and they were praying for me. They were praying for me and my family. And this really, really touched my heart. And then I knew that I'm doing the right job. I'm in the right field, and it's not about the money at the end of the day. And which brings me to adapting the needs of our clients and who are we serving? Because after COVID, people are looking for other needs. And Jon is familiar with this book, Finding Peace in the Frantic World. He wrote the foreword for this book. I've had to water down my 8 weeks to this. I did the training in this with Oxford. And I found a wonderful woman here who offers seminars to Erasmus teachers and schools in Europe. And she now invites me to do 7-day seminars for school teachers. I'm a former school teacher myself. And if I can't reach the students, because who's going to pay is always the question, at least I can reach the teachers. I can sow the seeds, and hopefully they will plant those seeds for me and watch those seeds grow in young people. As a mother, I know the value of mindfulness and what it's done for my children. And just to touch in a little bit on the internal factors, Catherine, the generosity of EAMBA, the generosity of Jon, who gave us 13 weeks of this retreat, this global retreat that we had with him. I sat with him for 13 weeks. I was a new teacher. Thank you, Jon. You know, you changed my perspective on life, and I'm so grateful to that. I'm grateful to EAMBA. I can't be a member of any mindfulness association because I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist, and so I struggle, but I come to groups like this and I gain strength, I gain empowerment, and I see all you lovely people that you have to share, and I just want to say keep up the good work. Generosity, when you have that open heart and you give, it comes. It's been given to me and I share it. And I have this, I don't have compassion fatigue when I serve in mindfulness. I think, yeah, it just spreads and you see the change. So thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Christine, and also for being here. I think I remember you from other meetings, so feel welcome. You can come. So maybe let's pause for a minute, and then Jon, would you please consider commenting, giving your impression on what you've heard in the last 1.5 hours, and then we continue.
Let me suggest this, or at least ask. I'm fine with going 3 hours, no problem, but it might be compassionate to give a 5-minute bio break, if you will, so that people can, you know, sort of do whatever it is that they'd like to do and then come back renewed in a certain way. So I'll just put that out there. If that generally makes sense, why don't we take 5 minutes? And I mean 5 minutes, and then come back. But it's up to you to decide. As I said, I'm perfectly fine with just keeping going.
We have been here for 2 hours now, and I think it's a wonderful suggestion. So let's implement it right away.
Okay, we'll be right back then.
No postponing.
5
Would you
minuti.
please, the ones who can make it and can stay here, would you please be back at 5 minutes to the hour? So after 5 minutes, hopefully you feel refreshed a bit. And let's continue.
Well, let me begin by just giving you folks a sort of snapshot impression of what I've been experiencing listening to you. And first of all, I want to bow to you, Katerina, for the way you're holding the space and reflecting back to us at least one of an infinite number of jewels that everybody's sharing. I mean, the sharing from everybody has been really moving and profound. And I understand that this meeting, in some sense, came about or is driven to a certain degree by anxiety, by this sense that, oh my God, we paid a lot of money to be trained in MBSR, and now we can't make a living at it. And I understand that that is, a huge concern. And I also understand that the world is changing extremely fast. So models that might have been effective in the 20th century or even the first decade or two of the 21st century are not going to be applicable in the future. And the only thing that's really constant, it seems to me, is the value of wisdom and compassion. And as you keep stressing, Katerina, an ethical stance towards a very, very rapidly changing reality. And nobody can be ethical for you. Nobody can meditate for you. Nobody can really know what's yours to do. And often we don't know what's ours to do. So, I've emphasized for a very, very long time that my own coming to MBSR was based on 10 years of pondering what I was supposed to do with my life and really meditating on the question. And it's a very privileged condition to be able to meditate on that question at all. But, I was doing it on the edge of poverty the whole time. Is what is my job on the planet with a capital J? And to me, that means in a very real way, what would I love so much I'd pay to do it? And in the early years of MBSR, I did pay to do it. I mean, it was living on virtually nothing, a shoestring, as we say in English. But it never was meant to be a therapy. And so I just say this because there are so many training programs out there, and so many of the people that are drawn to them are therapists, and that this seemed like a very good next step to be able to combine one's love of the Dharma with the context of therapy and caring. And I feel like in a rapidly changing world, this has to kind of now reconstitute itself, because even the past 3 years with the COVID pandemic has really changed a lot of equations. I'm doing a lot less traveling than I was, and I don't even know how safe it is when I do things and, wear a mask and don't wear a mask. And it's really created an enormous amount of mental health conditions and worsened mental health conditions all around the world, especially in young people. And coupled with the new technologies and especially social media, there's an epidemic of depression, suicidal ideation, the tremendous low esteem, self-loathing, cutting, and so forth among young people, because there's a certain existential threat to meaning, it seems to me. Like, who am I? Where do I belong in a society that is as crazy as, you folks are outside the United States. Just look at the United States. Today, we're indicting the former president of the United States, in a court of law. And there's, it's not a simple matter. And what's unfolding here is like an enormous threat to democracy, which hopefully we will see our way through. But the world, and someone mentioned, on your continent, if you're in Europe, you've got this insane war going on that is so destructive in every conceivable way for everybody on all sides. And yet there's no wakefulness, there's no compassion, there's no sense of minimizing harm and maximizing well-being and happiness. So, and that's what the Dharma actually is. So the first thing I want to emphasize is that the most important thing in any mindfulness community is practice, and ongoing practice, and retreat practice, and learning from each other and from other teachers, and actually recognizing at a certain point that everything and everybody is your teacher. And even the challenging circumstances, they're really opportunities for deep inquiry, like a Zen koan on what is this work? What is mindfulness? What is MBSR? Why am I doing this in the face of the actuality of dukkha, of suffering, and of the madness that we're experiencing, and at the same time, the beauty, the insane beauty of being alive. And although now we're kind of just releasing generalized artificial intelligence into the world and chat GPT and stuff like that, which will change the face of work and human interaction forever, if it doesn't totally destroy the world before that. We're in a new environment. This is not 1979. But some of the points that I've made are incredibly important. If you don't see MBSR as a therapy, but you see it as a kind of Archimedes fulcrum for transforming the world, then the book has not been written about what the range of possibilities are that you can actualize, and only you can actualize being who you are. And I'm talking to every single person here. And that part of the meditative practice is asking that deep question, how can I serve? And I've been feeling very, very deeply how everybody who's spoken is actually coming from that place, which I consider, as many of you know, to be a place of love, a place of profound engagement in a profoundly ethical way, in selflessness, in recognizing the beauty in the world and minimizing harm and optimizing well-being in whatever ways we can, and understanding that usually the biggest enemy and the biggest ally is the human mind. The human mind, when it doesn't know itself, creates Auschwitz and the killing fields of Cambodia and Rwanda and 1,000 other horrors. And the human mind, when it does know itself, it creates the Louvre and everything that's in it, and the symphony halls of Europe, and everything that's beautiful about human beings. But it's very, very clear to me that if you just plot the course of civilization, that if we don't learn some lessons very, very quickly, humanity is going to be in a very, very bad space. And what would the antidote to this be? To tell you the truth, it's mindfulness. It's heartfulness. If there was something that I'd ever discovered in my life that was more powerful than the Dharma in a universal format, so it's not like merely Buddhist, although we can really learn a lot and dive as deeply as possible from recognized teachers in all the various traditions. And I encourage people to do that, because there's no end to the meditation practice as far as I can see. The deep inquiry into the nature of the mind, our own mind, and who we are and what it means to be human is a kind of infinite inquiry. And we are shaped by that engagement. And I think that's where the impulse to share this with other people comes from. It's not merely to rescue them from drug addiction or even from suffering. It's in recognizing everybody's Buddha nature or original nature and beauty, and then helping them to find that for themselves in their own way, not in your way, not in my way. And to me, that's like just a priceless superpower. And I've started to talk about mindfulness as a superpower, and kind of was inspired by Greta Thunberg. And if she can call her autism or, her, sort of disorder a superpower, and all you need to do is watch her give a talk for any period of time, and you'll see that there's no self behind it. It is a superpower. That, well, you know, with that kind of inspiration, I mean, mindfulness really needs to be understood as not just one more therapy that you could do and integrated in cognitive therapy or bring a little stress reduction into a hospital. You know, people mentioned institutions. Well, what about finding the institutions of power and transforming them? What about going to diplomats and government and to all sorts of different things, as the Mindful Initiative in the UK is doing? And there are so many different opportunities here for us to actually find Archimedes' fulcrum and use who we are at this moment, not who we think we'll be if we ever get wiser or, you know, sort of more compassionate, but maybe you're wise enough and compassionate enough now, as long as you're willing to be honest with yourself and ethical. And then the MBSR teacher becomes the instrument of transformation, becomes the instrument of healing. And many of you mentioned this, that it's your being that does all the work. It's your being that does all the work. And we don't have a language for that, but people feel it. And they feel like, I feel better when I'm in your environment, when I'm in conversation with you. And you can instrumentally use that to sort of show people that actually it's not about you. It's not about me, it's about we. And that we all share in that kind of truest nature, most fundamental nature. And that there are thousands of years worth of accumulated wisdom practices that actually cultivate this. And yet we're not looking to the past. We have to look to the present and to the future, because things are changing so fast that the world that the 5-year-olds will grow up into is inconceivable to us adults. There's just no way we can even visualize what it will be. And that maybe even be true for the 15-year-olds. And so what do they most need to equip themselves? Since so many people talked about working with children or in schools, they need to feel good about themselves. They need to not think that they should kill themselves because they're not worth anything. They need to be safe and not exploited by predators of one kind or another. There's a lot of work to be done in the world. And I think, although I want to honor the concerns that were shared with me about how, well, we paid a lot of money to get this training and now nobody wants our training. That's a kind of problem of the imagination. And many of you have spoken about, and of course, MBSR wasn't Jon just going out and teaching a few people mindfulness in one way or another. What did I do? Based on my training as a scientist, I went to doctors in the hospital and I said, you have a problem here that you haven't even identified. And maybe there's a solution. I didn't say, yes, there's a solution. Maybe there's a solution. Let's at least try it. That's how MBSR got started. Because a few people said, well, what do we have to lose? If this guy's a lunatic, we'll just fire him in 6 months. But, you know, he is addressing a problem. Lots of people are not getting satisfaction from hospitals. And that was in 1979. Now, nobody's getting satisfaction. And I just read a pain paper that was published in Nature. The woman who wrote the paper sent it to me via my son. And it's a giant feature article in Nature, the premier scientific journal in the world, on chronic pain. And when I read it, because I'm not reading the literature anymore, the medical literature, the scientific literature, in the way I did when I was at the hospital, I was appalled. Nothing has changed in the field of chronic pain treatment in the past 40 years. People are still suffering, and nobody knows what to do with them. And there's opioid addiction and everything else. There's a mindfulness-based program called MORE that Eric Garland does. I suggest you look at it because his scientific studies are phenomenal. And he's taking people who have drug addiction, chronic opioid addiction, and in 8 weeks of an MBSR-like program that's slightly different, is getting phenomenal results with all sorts of different scientific evidence to back it up. Eric Lux at the Brown Mindfulness Center is gearing up to get the National Institutes of Health to pay, or maybe it's not the NIH, but some government organization to pay for MBSR for everybody, to just make it free for everybody. Those are the kinds of levels at which we need to try to, in some sense, meet the suffering of the world. The Dharma is about recognizing the nature of suffering, the cause of the original cause or source of the suffering, the potential for a very positive liberative prognosis, and the treatment plan, the Four Noble Truths, the treatment plan being the fourth. And the treatment plan is like, 8 factors, but they're all interrelated. And as Thich Nhat Hanh liked to say, they're all the same in a certain way. And the way we talk about mindfulness, it's all 8 factors. Okay. And so this is an existential engagement. And no one gets paid for existential engagements. We figure out how to live and right livelihood and everything else. But this is like the core of activism, if you will. Like Thich Nhat Hanh, he was a social activist. Like Gandhi, he was a social activist. And failure is not an option. If water gets blocked one way, it just goes another way, around rocks, boulders, everything, over dams. You cannot stop it. In a certain way, I feel like it's up to us, but the Dharma has the potential to flow in that kind of way. If you have an obstacle here, and I heard people saying that, well, you just shift and you go around the obstacle and you find another way. And when you do that out of love, not out of desperation, you do it out of love, out of a sense of, ethical obligation to use your life in a way that maximizes well-being and reduces suffering, which is what MBSR and every other MBI is all about. Then I think the opportunities, frankly, are endless. And the only real obstacle to them is a lack of imagination. So more meditation. It's not like we're meditating to find a solution to life's problems, but when you let go of striving for solutions, every one of you on this call knows they come to you like by the thousands, and you'd have a hard time even choosing what is the most optimal one. So if you listen even a little bit more deeply, I have every conviction based on my own experience that life and the world will teach you everything you need to know and offer you everything you need to have, including the community, the Sangha of all of us together. That is exactly what's called for in this terrifying and insanely beautiful moment. So that's basically all I have to say. I could go on for hours because I've read everything you sent me. I bow to you. I've never had anybody send me such high resolution, thoughtful ideas about marketing, so that it doesn't sound like marketing, but it sounds more like compassion and loving kindness. And the consultant, Susanna, that you brought on to do that kind of thing, fabulous. I mean, it really resonated with me, and I have a kind of impulse to be aversive to that kind of thing and reject it. So I'm not against marketing, but I want to just say for the record that, people ask me all the time, especially journalists, television people and stuff like that, Jon, MBSR is spread around the world. It's in like, close to 1,000, if not more, hospitals and all over the place. What was your marketing strategy to make this happen? And I say, well, frankly, my marketing strategy, and it was a marketing strategy, my marketing strategy and strategy, somebody said it before, word of mouth. Okay, my marketing strategy was no marketing strategy. Let the results speak for themselves. Let the embodiment do all the work. Let the love do all the work. And meanwhile, if there are, economic challenges, you figure that out along with everybody else on the planet. And we try to, and if you have more, then give it away. And if you don't have enough, then find ways to get enough, but not just for its own sake, but so that you can thrive and do the work that you're called to do in your life. And that means you can't imitate anybody else. You can't imitate the Buddha or, whatever teachers you know and love. And they wouldn't want you to imitate them. The whole invitation is to be fully who you are and know something about that. And how can you do that without embodied, moment-to-moment, non-reactive, non-judgmental, ethical awareness? So I've said a lot, and I'm very conscious of the fact that there are just wonderfully large number of people here, and that this conversation itself is healing. I feel it's got to be healing to see each other. And I hope that as we continue to converse, not too many of you did it at this point, but I would love to know what country you're in, if not what city also you're in, because it really helps to have a sense of like how global this actually is, how dispersive and diverse and distributive this is. And that's a signature of this work, is that the image of Indra's net, that every single one of us is a jewel, a node of this infinite net that represents the nature of reality. And we are all reflecting each other. And those reflections are reflections of the heart, and they're in compassion embodied, and they're wisdom embodied, and they're ethically embodied. And we need to tend that to make sure that doesn't become a concept, but it's our, as the neuroscientists like to say, default mode. Why not let mindfulness and presence and compassion and kindness become our default mode, rather than mindlessness and, sort of constant reactivity and striving for running away from the stuff we don't like and pursuing the stuff we think we need in order to be happy or successful. So that's it. I'll stop. But I also want to thank you for the invitation to attend, this meeting. And I owe it to Anne Tuig, who I just bow to as like just an incredible bodhisattva, an incarnation of wisdom. I don't want to embarrass you, Anne, but I didn't know what I was getting into when I said yes to this meeting, but I have to tell you, I love it. And I really do feel like ultimately what we're engaged in is a love affair, okay? That the meditation practice, when I get my ass on my cushion, it's a fucking love affair. It's a kind of, a signature statement that it's all already here right now. And that even if I think I'm incomplete in any moment, I'm not incomplete. That's delusional. And so it's not about getting somewhere else or achieving some, magical state. It's about recognizing that every moment of your life is a magical moment if you're willing to be here for it and fully embodied. And we need each other. It's not a question of you or me, but it really deeply a question of us and of we. And that is the love affair. And so the work and the work on the cushion, not separate. The mindfulness in everyday life is the real practice. The real practice is life itself. And there's no moment that's not a worthy moment for being completely grounded in who you are and without any contrivance or attachment to outcome, sharing that energy, that love with the world. And the world is starving for it. And maybe even dying for it, and you all know that. And so, again, this is not 1979 or even the year 2000. And so we have to keep asking ourselves, what is my karmic assignment now? What is my job now? And also, how do I fit in this larger sangha, this larger community of intentionality and caring and love that is so beautifully being tended in the EAMBA, or however you pronounce it, because there's no leadership. It's distributive leadership. And that really is an indication, although certainly, some people are tending it and doing an awful lot of work in the background to make it look like nobody's doing any work and it's just manifesting so beautifully. Of course, it takes work, but that work is what I would call love. And I just want to bow to all of you who I don't know, who actually keep this flame alive and have invited me to participate in this meeting. I am just like, overwhelmed and practically speechless in the face of the beauty and the wisdom and the kindness that I've been, and the selflessness that I've been hearing from the people who've spoken so far.
Thank you, Jon. You just mentioned energy and love. And I really thank you for your energy and love, that you're... What is happening? Someone is sharing a screen? That you are so generously sharing here. And on that note, you just mentioned Anne. I would also really love to thank Gwenola, Anne, Teresa, Stasi, and Eugenio, who participated in creating and preparing this meeting, the things that we brought together, the listening that we had, the people that we heard, which made it possible to have at least some things that we could already bring to this meeting. One thing that you just mentioned, Jon, is that you didn't do any marketing in this time and age. We call the kind of thing that you did. You went to influencers. You talked to doctors who had patients who were suffering and were at the end of their rope. So what you in fact did is what today is called influencer marketing. And it's the most modern marketing there is.
Well, that's the power of non-marketing, isn't
yes, but some people
marketing.
are natural talents.
Yeah.
Natural talents. And where does that come from? That natural talent comes from what you call love, the compassion we have, and then to mobilize whatever we have to share what we want to give, to offer that value, not keep it for ourselves, but to be able to share it. And so marketing, in fact, is a very ethical way of looking what is the other's needs and then responding to that. Marketing, if you do it in an ethical way, is a service. It's serving the other person and helping the other person to find a solution that is right for the problem they have. And actually, no person wakes up in the morning to want a printer or to want a car. People want to be able to have a document and they want to be able to go somewhere. So it's the same here. The only reason why people choose what we have to offer is that they have a problem that they don't want, and we can help them to get rid of it. Or they want a result which they don't have yet, and we can help them to get there. There are no other reasons why people would ever engage in something. Yeah. And here, applications come in because obviously applications and pre-recorded courses have made it more convenient for people to get what they want without having to go to too much trouble.
Because you've brought up, if you don't mind, because you've brought up pre-recorded courses and particularly MBSR, pre-recorded MBSR courses, I'd like to just share my view of that a little bit because I was asked to do one and I refused. Okay. Because a pre-recorded MBSR course without the interaction, without the dialogue is not MBSR. It can't be. No matter what the intentions and the depth of the people who are providing, it's just not possible. Our being able to converse like this on Zoom is something we discovered over the course of the pandemic, because before that, we were just doing it in a room. Now the room is as big as the world. So there's a certain way in which nothing's changed. It's just that the room has gotten a lot bigger. And so we have to reconfigure our models of reality, so to speak, to find out how to work in this new space. And I see that as a very positive development because we can reach an infinitely larger number of people. You know, somebody spoke from someplace near or in Afghanistan and Pakistan earlier, you know, and saying that there was a huge sort of sense that MBSR and mindfulness would be of value in that community or those communities. Well, you know, there's a lot of work to be done on that score. In Iran, for instance, I mean, there was a very wonderful MBSR community going on in Tehran, Ataya Hospital. And now those people are being hunted down and persecuted by the government. So, you know, there's a lot of complexity in the world, but in virtually every country, this kind of universal dharma is taking root because of all the things that I said earlier about its value at this particular juncture on the planet.
Mm-hmm. You just said you haven't made a pre-recorded course. I found one on masterclass.com. And it says...
Oh, yeah, but it's not
Jon
MBSR.
Kabat-Zinn.
It was never meant,
Okay.
It's not MBSR. I'm talking about
Okay.
MBSR.
Okay.
No, everything I do is meant to, in some sense, inspire people to practice. Okay.
Yes.
And I stopped doing MBSR long before I left UMass because I felt like it was, I needed to make more room for my colleagues to do that work, because otherwise, you know, I was competing with my colleagues for patients even then, back in the day, and there weren't enough, you know, patients. So I got out of the way, so to speak, and, you know, so that other people would have the opportunity in the early days to do it, or at least that's the way I rationalized it and thought of it. And also my work changed in a certain way because I had to interface with larger national forces that would produce what some people call the mindfulness revolution. But we've just barely scratched the surface.
Yes.
And so it's never been about like one person being, you know, the kind of incarnation of anything. It's about all of us are the unique cells of the one body politic of the planet. And the body, our body, needs all its cells to be healthy and have enough oxygen and blood supply and so forth. And that's true for the world as a whole. And therefore there are no enemies. You know, there are no enemies. Everybody's part of this body politic. And we need to find a way to not die of some lethal disease that's the disease of greed, hatred, and delusion.
Yep. John, on the note of the mindfulness revolution, I also heard you say that you brought it to the collective level from the individual to, and being inspired by Greta Thunberg. We have Mark Leonard's mindfulness-based organizational education, who talks about, no, I'll send it.
Never seen it.
I will send it to you.
Wonderful.
It's called Social Mindfulness, a guide for mindfulness-based organizational education. And his basic stance is, we practice as individuals, but then we have to bring it to the collective level, practice as a community, and practice within the organization to not make it an individual thing only, but make it mindfulness in action.
Absolutely. And
this
what
also
I
connects-
sometimes call the Tao of work.
Exactly. And
Yeah,
this also
beautiful.
connects to the Mindfulness Initiative's Reconnection Report, where you said something in that avenue where they say mindfulness is a foundation to have the awareness, to build the consciousness, to be climate conscious, and to work on that.
Yeah.
They really state it as the basis. And this is also why, as EAMBA, we very much promote the reports of the Mindfulness Initiative. And on the 18th of April, we will share in essence the Mindfulness Field Book for Innovators and have a meeting like this one. If you're free, if you're interested, you're most welcome, because
Send
we
me the
have that
details,
meeting
okay.
to use those 4 chapters, which are on content, on format, on population, on business models, to see from understanding, we need to step up and create.
Is Jamie Bristow going to be part of that?
Oh, he was on EAMBA Exchange, but
You
if
should
I
certainly invite
ask
him.
him, I can ask
You
him
should
to
certainly
come.
invite
And
him.
Ruth, yeah.
And speaking of that, just to mention it, in terms of climate change, sustainability, those kinds of things, there's a group in Lund University in Sweden. I don't know the principal researcher's name, but they're publishing papers on mindfulness and sustainability. And, you know, so there again, it's like a new field opening up that's absolutely critical for humanity. And mindfulness is being demonstrated to play very specific and fundamental roles in all of that. So that's like a whole industry of potential jobs if people are looking for jobs for the right people. And so I would say that, you know, compared to 1979, even though the world is insane in ways we could never have imagined in 1979, and it was plenty insane then, the opportunities for doing this work in a way that has real integrity are infinite. They're simply infinite. And the rate limiting or limiting factor may be our own imagination.
Given time, shall we open for a few remarks from the community? Many people have put their gratitude in the chat, but they had to leave because of private obligations or maybe teaching. Dear colleagues, is there someone who would like to remark something or bring in some other experience, given the things that we exchanged lately? Yes, Amir, please. Please unmute yourself.
Oh, there's Amir.
Amir is there.
Hi, John.
I hope what I said was okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Thank you for mentioning it.
Please share more if you care to.
Absolutely. I'm Amir. I've been teaching MBSR full time past 18 years. so there's hope. Absolutely hope. And I'll moved directly from Worcester in Massachusetts right after my teacher training to Iran after many years abroad, living in Canada and Europe, to basically to share this with the Iranian population, Iranians back then, and more so now, the stress level. So, and I just raised my hand because I wanted to to raise my voice. These days, I love to raise my voice because of what's happening in that part of the world, and I think it's we need to name it. And thank you, John, for naming it. We have 60 teachers, MBSR and mindfulness teachers in Iran. And I just heard yesterday over a call, one of them has been sentenced to 5 years of prison, 25 years, just because of doing what we are doing now. Because of the politics of the day, of course. I mean, we are just being goats loaded with accusations, with no groundings for it. Like many other groups, so it's not only mindfulness. Any group works is being perceived as a threat. So I just wanted to, and I was thinking about this. Here I'm in London in this quiet, beautiful corner that I've been gifted by whatever you like it to call it, God, nature, Dharma, to reflect on what is going on, what the hell is going on, I mean, where did we go wrong, what have we done, or what have we done wrong to nothing. I mean, there's just nothing. It's been only and there was this moment yesterday when I was just sitting here and thinking what to do. And I spoke to you, John, a few weeks ago. Thank you for telling me maybe nothing, when you're faced with this catastrophe of, that the mind can't understand. You want to do something, and anything that you do is a danger. And it came to me that it's best not to do anything. And it's
for now.
For now. And this came up on my email, this gathering of beautiful souls of colleagues, and this is what I'm doing now. And right today, I was reading Rumi, and this is why basically I raised my hand I wanted to share this with you because it's so relevant to my journey and our journey collectively, and what we are discussing now, the work, the business. It says, this was basically popped up, I opened Rumi right after breakfast, and here it is. Maulana saying, if I may, just a few lines. I don't have anything else to say. It says, there is not much to do. Why playing with mud? When my beloved has no need, why being in a rut? Being in a rut, I translated it. It says, why doing mundane things when there is no need? Why being in a rut? Why bothering with trade, he says, when he is my trade? And, he's speaking about his beloved. Why bothering with trade when he is my trade? Why minding my life when he is the king of lives, the sultan of lives? And this was so right on for me, and this has been the story of my love affair with BSR. Thank you, John. Thank you for sharing it. I mean, it's been a joy. It's been a ride of joy and love past 18 years. And thank you, everyone, being out there.
Thank you, dear Amir,
Thank
for
you.
speaking up in such a wonderful and gentle way. And also for the fact that you step up and speak up. Stepping up, speaking up is that courageous act that we need. Thank you. And please remember, this is a community that welcomes you. Be with us. Magdalena from Croatia. Wonderful story in Croatia. Please.
Yeah, I'm so touched and speechless, sort of. Just wanted to share briefly how my solitary journey some 15 years ago, when I was retired as a psychologist working in prison system for 30 years then, and discovered mindfulness and just learned it from books, from online resources on my own, and putting all this, what I learned, into my work in NGO field, which I was engaged in after my retirement, and how this became an embodiment. Just, I learned something, I discovered something in me and put it into learning in the work I did. And how all this came up to the higher level now, while I'm first I discovered some people from this region, Sasha in Montenegro, and this group of people from former Yugoslavia field. And then we meet, and find the way how to go on. And now in Croatia is really, with a great support of EAMBA, is going another story where a little group of mindfulness, not only teachers, but persons who want to live this, come together, create an association that will put together these ideas. And right at this moment, I'm translating the social mindfulness work, and it is really a hard work to grasp all these ideas, and it is just a new way of learning. So this solitary journey really became something that is much greater than me. And so doesn't matter so much, shall I have a group, shall I have opportunity to teach someone, whatever I do every single day matters here in this place where I live. So thank you for this opportunity so much.
Thank you for speaking up, Magdalena, and congratulations to you and Eva Mia and to Ines and also to Branka. I saw you are here, Branka, that you are making so quickly this progress so quickly, and even offered to organize the EAMBA conference in November. So really, thanks a lot for doing great work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, would you please, yes, you're already unmuted. Thank you for speaking up. And then after that, Diederik.
Yes, thank you, Katrina and John, and everybody shared so many great ideas. So I just have two comments. I've been teaching for about 20 years here in Athens, Georgia. It's in the US. And what's worked for me is the cooperation with the university, a lot of opportunities to teach there, relationship with the local hospital. We have a healing lodge, they call it, and providing space for teaching mindfulness. And then the local Clark County, the Athens, Clark County provides training for their employees, mainly out of, to help them with their wellness, burnout, and their insurance rates. And the other comment is just that, just such a fragmented society, fragmented media, I think, has contributed to some of our challenges. And a fragmental suggestion is what we've done here in Athens is a mindfulness fair once a year. So we talk to mindfulness teachers and yoga teachers and form a group, a committee, and then dole out the responsibilities, get some space at the local library, and invite everybody in the community. We started offering free food to bring more people in, and it's been successful. We had Coleman Barks come and talk, do a little piece on Rumi and his own poems, translator of Rumi's poems. And so just as a suggestion for community and on a pragmatic level, there's things like that that we can do. And again, thank you.
Great, Mike. So welcome. We are a European association, but I think we are gradually becoming global. So stay with us. Come back. And from Belgium, my dear colleague Diederik, please unmute yourself.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much, Katrina, and of course, John, for being there. Just something I would like to share. My situation is that I work as a psychiatrist, and obviously there's really a lot of work that I can do as a psychiatrist. But at some point I discovered mindfulness in the more traditional way, in the Buddhist Sangha, and the more traditional Buddhist Sangha, and the Triratna tradition. So it helped me really a lot. But then I wanted to do something with mindfulness in my work, and it's only later on that I discovered the secular mindfulness-based practices. So I think it's a fantastic value that as a psychiatrist or as a doctor, that you can translate the Dharma for people who have no real interest in Buddhism, or that you could not get to a Buddhist center. So yeah, this is like a kind of missing link for me between, or it was between the work as a psychiatrist and then my practice as a devoted Buddhist. But at some point, it gives me a kind of dilemma. Should I invest more of my time in mindfulness-based approaches for patients, or should I get more involved in my Buddhist Sangha? So at some point, it can give some kind of tension between both, because my Buddhist friends, they also need people to give the Buddhist, to lead the Buddhist meditation classes. So yeah, it's a bit of a balancing between both, between the more traditional Buddhist practice with more focus on devotion, with the chanting and other more Buddhist approaches. So but in some way I feel it's possible to in some way be at the same time a psychiatrist, a mindfulness trainer, and a devoted Buddhist. It's not always very easy in a practical way, but at some way it's actually there's a core in it that is common. So well, a lot of thanks to John to offer or to translating the Dharma in our modern context, because yeah, it's a way to offer the richness of the Dharma to people who would not we could not reach by the traditional Buddhist approach. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Derek. Simona. And Simona, dear friends, is the author of the article that I shared. Simona, you wouldn't have expected that things would emerge that way when we first contacted each other. So please unmute yourself. Oh, you're there.
Thank you so much, Katerina, and thank you all. Thank you, John, for being here. Yeah, I just love mindfulness, and so anything that I can do to contribute, and that article was just something that I felt I wanted to share, and like you said, I didn't expect it to be posted for others to see, but that is beautiful. And I think underneath all of it, and thank you so much, John, for addressing this, like underneath whatever we do to help the world, it's that love, it's that compassion, and we might all put on different hats or use different tools to do it. So for me, you could call me the mindful marketing gal, but still that's just a hat, right? That's just a role that I wear. But underneath it, I'm a soul who just wants to help others. And I have ways of doing it that come from my unique background, my unique experience, my passion. And just like everyone here on this call, all of you have this unique passion, this unique desire to serve. And that's the root of things. And what makes it so beautiful is that we have different ways of serving. And John, I love that you brought in the creativity and the imagination, because that's exactly what's needed is to, and that's something that I always am working on myself too within my practice, is to keep getting in touch. What is it that's authentic for me? What do I want to share? What do I want to speak out about? And I mean, this is so beautiful also as it relates to you being able to speak out when it's difficult, because I think this is a lot of the work that we're here to do, is to speak up, even though we know there's going to be people who aren't going to agree with us. And that's hard because we have this natural instinct to want to be loved, to want to be accepted. And so when we speak about mindfulness or really anything that sparks our passion, it's being able to be with that potential fear of what are others going to say, and to do it anyway, to do it for the love of it, to do it for the love of sharing. And so in my case, when I was in the corporate world, I didn't speak out about mindfulness or about meditation or about those things because I didn't want to be seen as, the woo-woo girl. And now when I'm in the world of wanting to help the mindfulness community, it's hard for me sometimes to speak up about business and marketing and conscious selling, because I don't want to be seen as, the business or marketing or sales girl. But I see how we can combine it. Like there can be this beautiful unity. And again, underneath, like, let's look past all the roles, the masks, the tools, whatever we're using, it's the intention, it's the sense of being. And I really love how I think this is what's coming together on this call. It's like recognizing our unique nature, getting in touch with it and just serving. As long as it's from the heart, then we can rely on each other to collaborate and co-create to create that better world. And we might not always know how we're going to do it, but if we go for that vision of that better world, we can do it. We can do it together. So I'm just really inspired and grateful to be here. Thank you.
I just want to say your report was really floored me, because I'm not a big fan of the subject matter, but the way you thread the needle was really beautiful. And so I just encourage you to keep using those talents in the service of transformation and healing, because there's so much wounding in the corporate world. There're just casualties all over the place. And it's getting worse, actually. And jobs are going to be eliminated big time with general AI. And so, your voice is like, I don't know how it came about, but we certainly need as much of that as we can get.
Thank you, Simona. And we will be in touch in the course of the week to see what is going to emerge further on. Thank you for being here. And here's Lila, all the way from Alabama. Welcome. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you. I'm almost overwhelmed. I came today because I thought I was looking for inspiration. And it's funny what life hands you sometimes. You get something you don't even know you're looking for. What I got was affirmation. To hear different people speaking today and hear the ideas and hear Jon and this organization, what's happening in the world, and to be sitting here and knowing that people are sitting in areas of the world that are war zones, or in areas of the world that are struggling. It reminds me that all areas of the world are. I live an hour south of Nashville, Tennessee, where children were shot and murdered last week in school, in a church school, and 3 adults. And if you know, yes, it is a crazy time, but sitting here with you guys reminds me that there are people moving in the world to bring about peace and healing. And the only way we can do that is starting with ourselves. So addressing this idea of marketing, you know, what I do and what came to me in listening to everyone is, it's just the things I've learned. I was a high school and college coach for 20 years. And then I was and still am a psychotherapist. I've been an MBSR teacher for about 15 years. But I bumped into MSPE, Mindful Sports Performance Enhancement. And I started working with athletes, and that was a good marriage with what I do. You know, and then I was a disc jockey for about 4 years trying to make money when I was a teacher, and radio and TV stations would say, hey, you have a good voice, come talk about what you do. And it was just beginning to realize it was the things in my own life. I didn't have to be anyone different than who I already am. You know, you don't need to be any different than you are in this moment. It is just really believing that you have gifts to offer the world. And I'm going back to handing out flyers. When I first started, I would go to a coffee house or a yoga studio and just have printed flyers. And in the last 8 or 10 years, I have a media presence. And more people seem to be wanting that one-on-one. I hand them a flyer, or I go someplace and speak about mindfulness, and people are thirsty, but they want that intimate contact with us. And I think I agree that there's many things that we can offer. You know, Zoom has been miraculous during COVID, and continues to be for people who need mental health services and can't access them for all sorts of reasons. But that contact that we make with people when we're sitting in that circle and teaching MBSR, that's where I think we've talked about embodiment. That's where people can really get it. They can really feel and connect and say, hey, you know, there's a reason for me to come back to class number 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and sit all day and give up my time. And anyway, you are your most powerful marketing tool. So thank you, guys. Thank you for this opportunity today.
Thank you, Laila, and also for giving an example of using all your talents, and keep using them. Be welcome. Yes. I now welcome Walter from Kiev. Would you please unmute yourself, Walter?
Yeah, thank you, Katharina. Thank you, John.
Hi, Walter. I didn't even know you were here.
Yeah, thank you, John.
How sweet.
Yeah, I'm happy to see you, and happy to see people whom I met on previous international meetings, and some people that are already in touch. And I'm really moved by today's meeting, and there's a lot of things happening in my head and heart now, in my mind. So many relevant things, and I'll try to be short. Like the most important thing I'm taking from this meeting and proceeding to my work and my rest of the day is that I came with a little bit triggered with this message of service and marketing, and I don't know how it was formulated. That's how I heard it. I like sounding a little bit like a product. I have a lot of thoughts on that. I have my own understanding of strategy as bringing mindfulness to people in my community. And this year, living in the midst of war, changed my attitude to my approaches completely. So I know I never had a luxury of just teaching, living on that, and I began bringing mindfulness to my community as the tool just to cope and to be together. And I launched online open meetings, like free meetings for everyone who wants to learn the basics of mindfulness and talk and share experiences. And it made me, I know, better at bringing the tools, bringing the understanding. And by practicing during this year around shellings and a lot of uncertainty and like a lot of disaster around, through commitment to practice, changed my attitude to practice, changed my understanding of practice, brought my experiences to the kind of next level, which at some point became the only solution I had to hold all the pain that was present, all the suffering that was present, just to get even wider, to zoom out, even to hold that. So I'm getting to the end of this meeting with trust, and again trust into the practice and to the wisdom of mindfulness. Hearing people saying, just speaking wisdom and sharing the projects you're working on or your approaches, just supports my trust in humanity and what we're doing. And yeah, again, getting back to the topic of the meeting, how someone mentioned the word of mouth. That's how I got here. I'm grateful to Anne Walkick from Ireland. Just recently we talked and she mentioned this meeting. I'm not part of any organization, not going to be in near future. I have things to do, and I'm happy to feel that I'm part of a big global community of people looking with curiosity for what's really going on, how we can be helpful to other people to sort it out. So I just want to thank everyone, and I would be happy to get in touch and talk again how to solve problems and strategize. I'm strategic consultant for nonprofits, and I guess someone said that we should use our knowledge. Yeah, that's what I do. I'm connecting all the knowledge I have now just to be useful. And I hope we can work globally more and more and form groups and address the bigger problems than just surviving on our own. Thank you.
Thank you, Walter. And if you have that intention, then please mark your agenda for 18 April, because we will be talking about Creation, the field book for mindfulness innovators.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great to see you, Walter. We'll be in touch.
Yeah. There's one more. Ernie, where are you based? And then I think given time, there is no other, we will close the meeting. Please, Ernie, unmute yourself and be welcome.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone. I'm so thankful for being here, and I'm very nervous. I'm 74. I'm not yet a certified MBSR teacher, but I hope to be in a few months. I've been doing the training for the last 2 years, and I'm really so grateful that I've come to this point. Lots of things pointed me in this direction. It took me a long time to do that. Professionally, I spent most of my life working, and I still do, working with teenagers that have special needs, teenagers mostly. And that can be a very stressful job. And I now I retired from that job about 10 years ago, although I still work with youth. Well, things led me to meditation and mindfulness, and then I discovered MBSR and decided that was something that was right for me, and I wanted to express my gratitude for all the good fortune that I've had in my to work with, and in terms of like there, you mentioned going to the unserved people that need, maybe in need of MBSR. My motivation was to go back to my colleagues that I had worked with earlier, and I know that they're also very stressed, people in health professions, in different institutions, often very stressed. And if I could give them those tools that I wasn't aware of at that earlier, then it would be a way of showing my gratitude. And yeah, that's MBSR is practicing MBSR and teaching or showing other people. Sharing that with them is a way for me to express my gratitude for being alive and my love of life, even when it's sometimes difficult.
Where are you located?
I'm originally from New York. I've been living in Germany for about 40 years and live in a small village outside of Bremen, Germany, and doing my training by the EAMBA. And it's been an extraordinary experience, and I'm so grateful to all of my teachers and to you and to the people who are here today. And it's really strange being the last person to speak, but I must say thank you.
Thank you, Ernie, for speaking up. I need that. I need the courage and the thoughts that are genuine. Dear colleagues, dear Jon, I'm so grateful for what we could create together today. It's wonderful that we all step up, that we are here. We have not created any solutions, but we have found encouragement. You have given a lot of words, Jon, to help us trust again and to step up and to not give up. Thank you, really, from the heart. 3 hours, dear colleagues, 3 hours. And Jon stayed here with us. Thank you.
Nothing more
Let's
important.
open up our mutes and say goodbye in all the languages that we have.
Gracias,
Bye.
Cheers.
Un abrazo fuerte.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
À bientôt.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Gracias a todos. Gracias.
Hey, good Jon and Katarina.
Salutjes, bedankt allemaal. Zo verder.
The little ones, they're there too.
Merci.
Bedankt allemaal.
Dankjewel allemaal.
Wow.
Bonne soirée. À bientôt.
Au revoir.
Ah, il y a des Français.
On est nombreux. Всім гарного вечора. До побачення. Дякую.
Big out breath.
Merci.
Katerina, this was lovely.
I think that's Sasha's voice, is it?
It's me, Amir.
It's Amir.
I wanted to thank you for this. It was really lovely. Really.
I also enjoyed it. Yes, thank you. Remember to stay with us wherever you are.
Yes.
Brexit does not apply to EAMBA.
Okay.
You're in London, aren't you?
I am for now. I am for now.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll be in touch. Maybe on April 18th. See you on April.
Of course, yes.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Au revoir. Merci beaucoup.
Merci à toi.
C'était magnifique.
Tjus, Norga. Tot ziens. Dag, Noor. Au revoir, Corinne.
Oui, au revoir, Katharina. J'espère à bientôt que tu vas
À
nous
bientôt,
rassembler.
merci.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Katerina. Have a good evening.
Yes, you too. Be back. Be back. Where is this? Greece? Where you're based?
Yes. I'm from Greece, Athens.
Are you connected with Myrto Legaki?
Yes, Mirko and Olga. Yes, we are doing our meetings here, and we try to figure out the way to embody all together in this collaboration.
Very good. Yeah. Myrto and I will have a call later this week to see how you're progressing. So maybe if you want to join, you're most welcome.
I'll stay in touch with Mirto, and absolutely, I would be happy to join you. We have so many common things to talk.
We really want to help you to get the Greece community working. Very nice.
Yes, and I appreciate it very much. And it's a greater community altogether. I mean, exchange of know-how and knowledge. That's where everything is. I mean, sharing, isn't it? At the end of the day.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So, best practice.
Let's see each other soon.
Thank you from her.
Bye.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Good evening.